So we're going to continue on with the Bf-109 campaign. This is mission 3, entitled Navigate. I don't know what I'm doing here, so we'll have to see. Navigate to Krimsk airfield, fly over it to complete the mission. That shouldn't be too hard, and maybe it'll give me a chance to ramble on about aircraft design some more.
In this mission, we'll navigate to Krimsk airfield, contact their tower, and request navigation assistance. Using that info, fly to that airfield.
Roger that. Krimsk.
Krimsk, call 1.
Wow, this thing is really unstable. Remember what I said last time? Request azimuth, that's right.
Krimsk, call 1-1. Request navigation assistance.
Yeah, you take your hand off the stick for a second and this thing's going to be flying in some weird direction. I think Krimsk. This is like the Focke-Wulf 190 campaign. I'll probably be turning left. Wow. So, continuing on from, I think we need to go to Delta, actually. There we go.
Krimsk, call 1-1. Request navigation assistance.
Well, doesn't that beat all? This is on channel 1. Now let's just cheat a little bit. Find Krimsk. Looks like I'll just be flying in a straight line. Alright, I can navigate. Woohoo. Yeah. So, I'm in a little bit of a dive, and now I'm in a almost level flight, and then I pitch up just slightly, and then I'm in a climb, and then, you know, if you watch my turn to bank indicator, that little ball is all over the place. So keeping straight level in this thing, as I mentioned earlier, is kind of a challenge. But so if you're playing DCS, you're here for the challenge anyways. At least if you fly like I do. It's like I always want to suck a little bit at what I'm doing and always be improving instead of just being like bored and, you know, dominating everything all the time. Now, if I am dominating, I want to freaking earn it, you know? Anyway, that's just me. But, I was going to talk about the aircraft some more. It's got a huge propeller, big old powerful V12 engine, 3-bladed prop, and the paddles are just huge. Can't really see them right now, but trust me, they're big. Trust me, they're huge. What that means, because the aircraft is so light and so slim compared to the power applied to it, every little tiny change of pitch, and especially throttle input, is going to change. It is going to upset the plane and make it change what it was doing. Like, kind of, once you get a straight level, it's kind of hard to keep it that way. If you make any little adjustment, let's see if I can trim it out for a level flight here. Not really. Kind of having a hard time with it. And if I add just a touch of power, just a little bit, watch what happens. Ah, nothing. There goes my theory. But at lower speeds, yeah, the higher speed this aircraft is, the more stable it's going to be. If I drop my speed, especially during landing, every tiny little, see, if I cut my power, it rolls and yaws to the right. If I add it, it just kind of, I take my hand off the stick, it goes up to the left. This is normal for propeller aircraft because of torque, P factor, slipstream, all that other stuff that goes into play. There's a lot of forces going on. You have a big gyroscope on your nose. It's pushing air past your airframe and striking it in kind of like a spiral pattern, which means it's acting on the tail surfaces in different ways. So when you jam the propeller forward, it, you know, gives prop wash, you know, over your wings, which is good for lift, but it also acts on your tail. But that'll change how your airplane is handling. So you got to be conscious of that. Be ready to, anytime you add power, be ready to compensate with, you know, stick up, stick down, roll, you know, yaw, whatever is appropriate for your aircraft. It's going to be different. But what I noticed compared to the Mustang, which has the same effects in this plane because it's lighter, the effects are much more magnified at low speed, especially. And then combine that with the narrow track landing gear, you got a challenge if you want to land this thing without breaking it. And if I understand correctly, from what I read about World War II, substantial amounts, Kind of shameful, actually. A lot of pilots got into ground accidents in this airplane because of what I was just talking about. Very difficult. In fact, oh man, I'm too far north. There it is, right there. I was lucky enough to go to an air show where they had not a true Bf-109, but the Spanish kind of copy of it, the Buchon, the AJ-1112, which is kind of an ME-109 airframe, but with a British Merlin engine attached to it, which is kind of a strange mixture, huh? But if you've ever seen the film The Battle of Britain, all the ME-109s are portrayed by that HA-1112, that Buchon. I'm sorry, my Spanish pronunciation. I have a hard time switching back and forth between Spanish and English. I can speak Spanish reasonably well, sort of, enough to get by, but switching back and forth within one sentence, especially with my accents and whatever, it's very difficult. It's kind of weird. Bilingual folks can switch back and forth if you're truly bilingual. Kind of interesting, and this is, again, totally unrelated to DCS. But if you're really bilingual, like you can switch back and forth between languages with no cognitive load. Like, it's just effortless to you. Where, unlike me, since I learned Spanish much later, it takes an effort to switch back and forth to reset the brain and think in one language versus the other. So it's easier for me to hear a whole sentence in Spanish than to hear like mixed. It's kind of an interesting thing. I read about that psychology article somewhere. Anyway. So the HA-1112 is like the Spanish-built copy of a German-designed aircraft with a British-designed Merlin engine attached to it. So, I think somebody's working on that. It might be VAO. I'm sure they'll get to it eventually. Maybe my kids can fly it when it eventually comes out. My kids aren't born yet, by the way. So, yeah, DCS. I love you. There's always something to look forward to. Yes, something's always in development, which means there's always something on the horizon that'll be cool to mess around with that you don't have yet.
You may end this mission now.
I may end the mission now, or I could try landing this beast to get some practice in. So let's do that. Let's enter an overhead pattern, bleed some speed out. And this is going to be a disaster. Okay, so I'm at 300 kph, 350 kph, which is about what you want. I'm a little high. Trim that out, and then let's drop the flaps. That's that wheel there on the outside. The inside one is elevator trim. And once I'm below 300, I'm going to drop the gear to bleed off some more speed. And I'm doing the gear and flaps setup way early, but whatever. I should be doing that on the kind of upwind leg. Or on base. Whatever. Nobody's judging me. Are you? I mean, if you are, that's fine. I don't really care. I'm not really here. You know, I'm not here to impress you. If you don't know that by now, yeah, whatever. Don't worry about it. We're cool, right? I am curious why my radio call went unanswered. Okay, so the gun sight, as you notice, tucks away and centers your head in the cockpit, and then when you engage it, your head slides off to the right to look over the reticle. But the problem with that is, especially when landing, I mean, you get better visibility, but you can't see your vertical speed indicator, which is critical when you're coming in for a landing in the simulator, especially because you can't feel descent rate, so you have to see it on the gauge. Here, a lot of people who learn to fly an actual aircraft and then switch to a simulator have an issue with that. You can't feel the energy of the aircraft, what it's doing, you know, acceleration, deceleration, you know, sudden changes in attitude, stuff like that. Since I've learned first on virtual aircraft, you have to rely on your instruments. It seems to be less of a problem for me. But like my dad, for example, is a private pilot. Climbing, it shouldn't be. He has a hard time with the sims because you can't, you know, you don't have that seat of the pants feel. You have to keep your head up out of the airplane and look at the world around you, but also your instruments. A little more important. So I think it's like 80-20 or 90-10. Like when you're doing your visual scans, you want to look outside 90% of the time, check your instruments 10%, something like that, VFR. I'd say if you're flying a simulated aircraft, probably want to check your instruments a little more than that. I'm going way too fast. I want to touch down at under like 200, probably like 180. Too slow, too high. Okay. Too low. Too fast. Let's see if I can correct it. How much runway do I have? Idle. Let's let it sit on the ground. Oh shit. Lock the tail wheel. That's what I forgot to do. Whoa! Well. Yeah, I forgot to lock the tail wheel. That's a problem. Haven't quite got the feel for this bird yet. But I didn't completely break it. I just bent it a little bit. It's slightly bent. It still works. It's still good. It's still good, right? Right? Magneto's off. Pull the engine stoppy thing, which is that it? I think that was it. Shut off the fuel pumps. Shut off the electrical system. And let's get out. It's a beautiful day outside. Let's go play fetch with our dog.